Hello. So in the last video we made this awesome table. So I think the next thing to do is get some textures on this. So we're going to apply a photograph of a piece of wood, and then we're going to fully unwrap this table and see if we can get it ready for a basic game. So we're going to go over into the shading editor first of all, and this is where we have the actual shader for this object. So this is a physically based rendering workflow, and we have HDRI map for the lighting, but all we need to do for now is I've downloaded this piece of wood. I'll put this in the classroom. You can drag that into there, and this is an image node, and then we can drag the color output of that node into the shader, the BSDF shader, and then it will apply that texture to the mapped table. Now, we've not actually created any UVs. They've been automatically generated, and it doesn't look terrible, but they're definitely not right. We've got some fairly big issues with the legs. The edge of the table doesn't make any sense, and the beams probably would go the other way. So let's go into the UV editing workspace and fix the table. So we've got our texture here. If it doesn't appear, it's in here. And then we've got the table. So I just want to go over a few basics before we get this table sorted. So I'm just going to hold shift and select some polygons. So the first thing you might notice, actually, let's go into viewport shading mode so you can see it. The first thing you'll notice is the table's a rectangle shape, but the UVs don't match. So that means we've got distortion, because this is not the same shape as this. So it's got to be stretched when it's applied to the object. So to fix that, I've selected all those UVs from the top, and I'm going to click UV, Unwrap, and then that's now unwrapped this tabletop, and I can select this and I can move that about, I can scale it, and I can use S to scale, and I can use G to move, so I can switch seamlessly between those different modes using G to move, and S to scale, and R to rotate. So to rotate this, I would press R, don't hold it down, just type R, and then 90. So you can chain keyboard commands together, and as you can see, that's a little bit better. And as I move this around, you can see how it actually works. So if I move that edge to be in line up there, we get it in line there. And we can move these lines individually and scale it and everything. Obviously at the moment, this edge is not the same scale as the top, so we need to fix that. But rather than do them all separately and individually, I'm going to do it all together and show you another aspect of unwrapping. So I'm going to select the tabletop, and I'm going to spin the table around, select the edges, keep holding shift. So that's all I'm going to do the legs separately. I've got all the tabletop selected. Now, this is where it gets a bit weird. If I go to unwrap, we get this weird projection. So if you imagine this tabletop and these edges being made out of a sheet of paper, and we've got this right angle here, that would be impossible to do out of one sheet of paper, because, well, it just wouldn't work, would it? You can't have a right angle inside of a piece of paper. Imagine their flaps folding down, it wouldn't work. So this has been distorted, and you can see how it's distorted this UV map. Oh, I didn't mean to click off that. So that's no good. So we need to fix that, and the simplest way to fix it is imagine it is a piece of cardboard. Where would you cut it to make the flaps? So if I go into edge mode and click on that edge, that edge, that edge, and that edge, and I go to UV, mark seam, we'll get these red lines. I can then select my table area again. There are other ways of selecting stuff, but we'll just do it this way for now. So we've selected this region, but we've got these seams, and when I go to UV Unwrap, it will unwrap it now, and these edges here, which represent where this seam is, have been cut. So now you can imagine these tabs folding down and working properly. So let's press R90. Oops, I didn't have everything selected then. Let me Control Z and undo. Select everything, R90, and then press enter. G to move, S to scale. You don't need to use the shortcuts, they're just a lot faster. I'm going to move that up there. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. I'd like this line of this table, if possible, to line up. So I'm just going to scale it a little bit to maybe there. There are ways of moving the geometry individually, but for now we're just doing it. So I'm trying to line the top of the table up and the bottom of the table up, so we've got even planks on the top. So now we've got the tabletop, we've got the edges, and I know it looks a little bit weird, and we've got the side, and the side looks strange because of the way it's not a full plank. So let's fix that. So I'm going to click on this one first, and you can see here where we've got this overlap. So the way I'm going to fix this, and this will introduce some distortion, but sometimes it's necessary, we're going to click in edge mode, and I'm going to select this top edge, and I'm literally going to bring that down like that, and then that's one beam, and that looks a lot better. So I'm going to do this same thing on this side. I'm going to click, make sure I'm in edge mode, click on this bottom edge and bring that to there, and now we've got one beam for that, and that looks a bit better. I know it's not perfect, but if it was in a game and it was from a distance, that would be fine. You would never know. Right, let's fix these legs. We'll fix the underneath actually, that will be quicker. Let's just fix the underneath. So I'm just going to do that for the underneath, and we want it roughly the same scale as the top. So I'm going to rotate 90, and this raises another potential issue. I'm just going to do it fast like that because you're not going to see the underneath very much. This raises another issue, and the issue is this tabletop and the table bottom, they share the same texture space, and in this situation it probably doesn't matter, but if we had baked lighting and other things, it would matter. So we couldn't overlap them, would have to use separate areas of the picture, but for this it's fine. Right, let us do the legs. So the first thing is, if the feet are never visible in your game because it's always on the floor, I would get rid of them. No point having them there. They take up extra polygons, takes up texture space, don't need it. So to unwrap a leg, the best way of doing it is to imagine marking that seam, and I'm marking the inside seam because that's the least visible, and then what you do is you go into face mode, select all 4 faces of that leg, and then unwrap. And what's happened is it's unwrapped the leg like one folded piece. So I'm going to just scale that so that it looks like a realistic scale for a leg. And actually it would probably be better to try and scale it so that each leg is 1 piece of wood wide, like that. I know it's not perfect the way I've done it, but that's roughly what you could do. And these lines, these individual lines, you can move them to be a bit closer to what you're trying to do. And this is only one little example of how things would work. But we've got a leg there, and you might actually, looking at the model, you might think, oh, I don't even want those black lines, in which case you might want a separate texture for the legs without the black lines, or you could do them individually and get rid of the black lines like that. So it all depends on what you want to do. So let's quickly, very quickly, get the rest of this done. So I'm going to mark the seam there, and mark the seam there, and mark the seam there, mark seam, and then all I'm going to do is just very quickly go into face mode, do this leg. Have I got everything? I think I have. UV, unwrap. Something went terribly wrong there. I don't know what I did. Let me try it again. So let's go UV, unwrap, scale. So this leg, when I've done it, is the wrong way around. So we'll scale that by 90. Rotate it by 90, I mean. We'll use a different part of a texture for this leg so they don't look the same. Again, I'm just going to quickly try and get it roughly right. It's only a demo. I'm not making a real game asset. That'll do. Don't care about that edge on it. And this one, UV, unwrap. That one's the right way around, so let's just quickly scale it. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not too fussed about it, it's just a demo. UV, unwrap, and then this one's the wrong way around. Rotate 90. Oops, rotate 90. Scale with S, and let's do this one down here, and there we go. That's done. So I'm just going to go back into layout. I'm going to go into the viewport shaded mode, and we've got our table. One thing we might want to quickly look at is in the shading mode, we've got this, like, it's really shiny. We're getting a lot of sort of light on it, so we can actually increase the roughness of the table, and that will make it be lit in a slightly different way. So let's go back into the modeling workspace. So there we go, there's our amazing table. I know it's not perfect, but you can imagine if it's quite small in a game like that, that would be completely sufficient. And you could make it look a bit wonky and make it a bit more rustic. But that's the basics of applying a texture to an object, and it's worth just experimenting on a simple object before you even attempt to do anything more complex. Just get familiar with all those tools. Okay, that was a longer video, but an important one. Thank you.